to introduce our panel guests today, but also I want to do a shout out. We're going to do a little shout out. I love that we did that last week. I thought that was really, really cool. So we're going to start with that, but and then we'll get into introductions. Thanks everybody for coming to part 3 of Time to Perfection. Sandy put together this beautiful 6-part series. We're halfway home about timeline because we got so many questions about the timing of events and of course the Hey Nonprofits media little company that we started here with the pods and the webinars and all the good content is the only media company that's focused solely on events and auctions. And hey, because someone has to support events, you know what I mean? So we've got someone has to wave the flag for events. Good to see you, Jana. Good to see you, Jackie. Please keep putting your LinkedIn profiles up there, everybody. Hey, special shout out real quick. My name's Trevor Nelson, and I wanted to shout out the Mule Deer Foundation. Mule Deer Foundation, they had an event. They do great habitat work, obviously. They had an event in Reno, Nevada, and sold 5 items, auction items, and raised with those items $12,000 net gain at the Mule Deer Foundation event. I could shout out 100 different people, so forgive me. It's recency bias. It just popped up in my inbox, but they do great work. They had a great event, and they sold Costa Rica and our Tuscany trip. So and raise a bunch of money with it. So special shout out and thanks to them at the Mule Deer Foundation. It also kind of like, shows a little bit about the international travel desire and hunger that folks have still, regardless. We had a question like that come up last week. So yeah, I think it's great. And those items raise a ton of money. So really, really fun. Do us a favor, Reggie. You said that once you make it to Denver, you've kind of arrived to here. Hey, my good friend Reggie Rivers, please introduce yourself, my brother, and then Matt, we'll have you introduce yourself as well. But these are our panelists, and we're so tickled to have them today. So thanks for being
Trevor,
here. Yeah,
I'm going to introduce myself in the traditional way.
Please.
Here in Denver and in Colorado, I am commonly referred to as the greatest Denver Bronco in the history of the franchise.
Love it. That's awesome.
But you don't have to call me that. You can just call me Reggie. And any of you who followed my highlights, just keep your mouth shut. So my name is Reggie Rivers. I'm a benefit auctioneer. I'm the founder and president of the Gala team. And my special shout out, can I do that or do you want to?
Please do it, brother. Yes.
Okay. I have a 2-part shout out. Number 1 is my grandbaby, Amiri. He just turned 6 months old.
Nice.
It's my wife and I. It's our first grandchild. So we're experiencing that for the first time. So we're excited about that.
Awesome.
And my second shout out is the 2 of these gentlemen that I'm looking at. Look at their hair. They're just showing off now. Just with what they've got going on, and especially you, Matt, with the facial hair. So I just wanted to give you guys a shout out to say you look good.
Well, thanks, man. My hair's a magic act. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. I like to say I'm a comb forward guy. So yeah. Hey, thanks so much. Hey, Matt. Please do us a favor, introduce yourself, give us the shout out and all that good stuff too, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Roben. I go by the Kilted Auctioneer for the obvious reason of I wear kilts. I was in a bagpipe band for 8 years, fell in love with the attire and decided it's more fun to rock a kilt than wear normal pants. I've been an auctioneer for about 3 years. I was actually a professional circus artist for 25 years, took a little career to the side, became a police officer for 4 years, and I moved back to California. I actually know the pain of running a nonprofit. I have a small farm animal sanctuary I run. We take care of 250 farm animals. We're a 501c3 ourselves. So I sit on both sides of the aisle, and I took my basically 25, 30 years of a performing experience to become the Kilted Auctioneer. So let's see, shout outs. I am very excited. I'm proudly wearing my Rotary pin right there. My next event coming up after this weekend is going to be my very own Rotary Club, which I have the honor of being the auctioneer for, and we raise money for all the different organizations in our community. So it's not for our club, it is so that our club can give money to the community. And I absolutely love doing the event. So
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. All right. Kim's a fan of Rotary too. Well, hey, thanks. And you can see that how those are great shout outs, guys, by the way. Fantastic. This is getting off to a good start. Hey, also, you see how the chat function is lighting up. Everybody, hit our panel with as many questions as you like while we have you. We're going to be here or while we have them, pardon me, we'll be here for a little bit under an hour. And we'll get to as many questions as we possibly can. Sandy's going to pop up. Sandy, our producer, is going to pop up a poll question about planning spring events and all that good stuff. So if you'd be so kind as to hit those poll question answers whenever you can, that'd be great. But once again, we've got 2 experts in the space. We're going to get to it right now. But hit them with any questions. And then, of course, we'll give you ways that you can reach out to them post-webinar as well. But I want to get going. We were talking earlier this week to both of you. And, Reggie, I wanted to get you going. You have a tremendous amount of experience. You've been doing this for many, many years. And, of course, the old way, the old timeline or what have you at events, the old programs were hours and hours and hours long. And I love your approach and how focused you are. It's like not nickel and diamond people. You know what I mean? We'll get into that and what that means, because I loved hearing that from you when we did the podcast. But you have so many events under your belt. Your team does so many events as well. Why is the new way with regard to timeline working, in your opinion, and how you all consult these different organizations you have the opportunity to work with? Why is this new way, 30,000 foot view that we can get as myopic as you want? Why is it working from a fundraising perspective, and why is it probably not going to change anytime in the near future?
Yeah, I think there used to be a history of long events, and the events are getting just tighter and more streamlined, and I think it's because that's the way the world is going, that people's attention spans are short. I don't think that you need, I always think of the analogy when I'm at an event, and when you watch a good carpenter work, if they're hammering a nail in with an actual hammer, it takes like maybe 3 or 4 good whacks to get that thing all the way seated in there. Yeah. And so at an event, I often feel that way. I'm sitting there, I'm kind of looking around, I'm watching what's happening. I'm on the stage doing things, and boom, there's one hit. We're selling the mission of this organization, and it's kind of in. And then there's another one, and then there's a third one. And at that point, I'm like, yep, this thing is all the way seated. We're ready to do our fundraising right now. But then here comes another whack, and then here comes another one, and then here comes another one, and another one. And then all of a sudden, we're like, now we've been hammering this nail in, now 12 strokes. And it's like, yeah, the audience is exhausted. The moment has passed. You've lost their attention. You've lost their generosity. And so, yeah, I think that to really focus on a nice, tight program where you're covering everything that you need to cover, but you're just not belaboring the point, and then do your fundraising in the meat of the event while the energy is still high. I think that's been the way you have to go.
I love it. Matt, you talk about, your approach with, and it's cool because you guys are both in different markets. I know you work out of your areas as well, but you're in Silicon Valley, right? And I'm assuming attention spans are even shorter than where I live, way up north in California, for instance. But that being said, talk about when you are consulting folks, and you're earlier in you're honestly, you're a lot of this changed post-COVID, obviously, right? Like a lot of this new wave of fundraising and being very, very deliberate and very intentional with our timing. And that's how long you've been in the space. Talk about that. I mean, without having the fact that you don't have all that experience with doing these, events.
When I performed, I was a part of these galas, right? I would be at a 4-hour-long gala where I was entertaining the crowd. I would be the comical host as a circus performer. I was either like the comical host, or I did an acrobatic bike act. But I would be at these 4 or 5 hour long galas, and it was just, you would literally see people. You get 4 hours and a couple of cocktails and glasses of wine, and you lose people. So I think we are all more than capable of sitting on our phone, simultaneously watching a movie and eating dinner. You got Netflix, your phone, you're talking to somebody, you're doing all these things. So we are capable of multitasking. And I think in the past it was, nope, everything has to have its own section. Dinner has to be all by itself. Then we can get to here. And what data, I'm a big fan of data, neuroscience especially. What the data really shows is the closer to the beginning of that event we hit people with our fundraising ask, the more likely they are to give. They're still highly engaged. From that cocktail hour, or kind of the hour where everyone gets to hang out, get to be there, we want to kind of get, from the moment they've sat down as quickly as we can towards that fundraising. Because if we wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and we've had a really long program, our executive director gets up, and then we have a keynote speaker, and then we have this guest, and then we show this video, and then we take a break, and then 2-3 hours in, you're starting to yawn. Maybe you got to get home to the babysitter. Getting to that fundraising as quick as possible. Executive director introduction, go right into, hey, this is our fundraising auctioneer, Reggie Rivers, Matt Roben, the Kilted Auctioneer, and we're going to take it away. And maybe we play a game. We go right into the auction. We have that beautiful video and a speaker who engages us pre-paddle raise. And then we go into that paddle raise, of course, pre-committed, which we'll probably talk about, I'm sure. And then we celebrate for the rest of the night. We have any other speaker can come on after that. We have our dance party after that. We have the entertainment after that, because we can celebrate the success we had at the peak of the energy, the peak of the fundraising, the peak of the event. So
I love it. I love it. We had a good friend of ours was on last week, but he said it to us a few times. Dan Lyles, like, every minute we get past 9 p.m., we lose money. Reggie, talk about just like that, the real specifics of that timeline, like from a chronological standpoint, and your opinions and your team's opinions about that as well.
Yeah. 9 o'clock is the witching hour for fundraising. And it's just simple math. If you think about human biology, people arrive at your event for the cocktail hour, 5:30, 6 o'clock. They're standing around, they're having a couple of drinks, they're doing things. They come into the ballroom, they take their seats, your program starts. And as the closer you get to 9 o'clock, the more you're starting to bump into just natural things. People's bladders are full. More people need to go to the bathroom. Have you ever noticed when you're on a flight, you're on a long flight, there's a point in the flight where everybody gets up to go to the bathroom? I mean, it's like there's a 45-minute, you're on a 4-hour flight, there's a 45-minute part in there, 2.5 hours in, where everybody gets up to go to the bathroom. The people who had a little bit of a buzz during the cocktail hour, that buzz is starting to fade now. They're not feeling quite as good. A lot of people go to bed normally at around 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So their circadian rhythm is already starting to turn them off. A lot of people are starting to think about their babysitters and relieving their babysitter and getting home. The smokers all need to go out and smoke. They haven't now smoked for 3 hours. It's just the closer you get to 9 o'clock, the more you have to compete with these things. And there's no way for you to win this competition. This is biology. So the only way to beat it is you got to get your fundraising done before you hit all of that.
I love it. Matt, anything to punctuate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, going back to, what if I can recommend a phenomenal book, I just got to see this speaker. I got the book the second it came out, but I'm going to share this with everyone. It is called Neuro Giving by Cherry Ann Koshi. Make this your Bible. It talks about all the neuroscience behind why donors make the decisions they make. And what we're trying to get them to do is not think. And this isn't a trick. And he very specifically talks about this. We're not tricking people into donating. What we are doing is aligning the values and the mission of your organization with their desires to be generous people. And so shifts in language that we can use, right? But this goes back to we're, as far as talking about the timing of the event. If we wait too long and people start to get bored, you get either that boredom or that I don't know that I'm useful here. That spikes an adrenaline or a norepinephrine response, that kind of fight or flight. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to engage. If we get them, and I like to use Vegas as an analogy, you go to Vegas, you start having fun. You're hearing all the exciting sounds. You got this great lighting. There's some food. Somebody brings you a drink. Hey, here's your complimentary drink. You're winning a little. You want to keep having that fun. You're with your friends. You're engaged. Your body, your brain is literally dumping oxytocin and dopamine. Those are our feel-good molecules. And oxytocin, they've done studies where literally they've injected people with oxytocin, and not unbeknownst to them, they injected them in experiments.
Knowingly.
And,
They were just at the mall.
Try it sometime. And they literally found that people were 50% more likely in studies to donate significantly more money. So we are trying to tap into that perfect arc timeline of when we are at the peak of their engagement, oxytocin, dopamine release. And that comes down to respecting their time. If I'm bored, if I'm frustrated, if I'm thinking about going home, babysitter's been brought up 2 or 3 times. One of the fundraising a conference I was at recently, the lady kept repeating, I view every night in my life as my journey to soft pants. And how she's going to get home to her sweats. And
that's awesome.
we have to think about it that way. If we ask people to go up at 5:30 and we have an hour and a half long cocktail hour, that's 7, and then we don't start our fundraising till 8:30. I might not be getting to the paddle raise till 9:15 if you're asking me to do 10 or 12 auction items and you have a long speaker in between. So it's condensing, getting it done quicker.
Love it. Love it. I just want to do another shout out. That seems to be a theme. Circadian rhythm being mentioned on the webinar for the first time. Thank you, Reggie. Oxytocin and norepinephrine. Never mentioned on the webinar until this point. So thank you, Matt, for that. Really appreciate you. This is getting good. No, that's awesome. I mean that. Hey, we got to have our first. We said Wang Chung a few weeks ago for the first time about partying after the event. So make sure you get your fundraising done first, and then we Wang Chung later. So we have a lot of firsts. This is cool. You heard it here first.
Trevor, let me just make one quick statement.
Please.
As pursuant to and in conjunction with the previously aforementioned statement, I concur.
Yes, exactly. I love it. This is getting so good. Hey. Oh my God. I love it though. It's good. And it is rooted in reality. With all joking aside, this is awesome. Awesome. Both points, of course. Alan, good to see you. Babysitting Bewitching Hour, a good dear friend of ours. Alan Frankel's here as well. So absolutely, people don't want to pay for an extra hour of babysitting. I got a couple of questions for you all.
Well, and not to catch up, but have you ever been at an event where you said, man, I wish that went on an hour or two longer? You can give them the opportunity to hang out, but if they are held hostage in chairs and cannot leave, nobody's winning.
Don't ask people to start exercising their patience muscle. You know what I mean, right? I think it's good. Hey, Jackie says, hey, Jackie, good to see you as always. I have that book too. It's on my reading list for this weekend. Thank you so much. And then Jennifer, we had a question. I'm gonna ask you both. Matt, you go first. Jennifer had a question. Thanks so much for the feedback, Jennifer. Is it better to charge for tickets or maybe make your event free? I see people not charging and some charging over $100. I charge $30 per ticket. What is the right dichotomy of cost, I guess, or what have you? What's the right thing for her to do?
I think there's a couple of models here. When you look at community-centered fundraising, that becomes one where we say, hey, we would like to open this up to everybody in our community, not just our most capable financial donors, right? Mm-hmm. So in that sense, you might say, hey, we need to make money. If your tickets aren't even coming close to paying for your event, you are literally paying for your event out of your pocket, out of your donors' pockets. So by having a fee, whether it's $30, if your event is only costing you, let's say, $50 a person, and you're willing to figure out, can I get that sponsored cost for the rest of it? That would be one thing. I'm working at an event for the Silicon Valley, the Humane Society Silicon Valley, the Furball, huge event, 600 people. Their cheapest ticket is $500. Their VIP individual seats at the VIP table are $2,500 a piece. They are setting an expectation that you will be donating, that you will be coming here to raise money. I also do events where it is $100. I think the key is that you are not surprising people with a fundraising ask. You are saying you are coming to a wonderful party where we are raising funds for, and then you insert name of mission and organization here. I think you always need to look at your budget. If you can get sponsors to cover the whole cost, that's wonderful. But as soon as people have paid for a ticket or a table sponsor has paid for a ticket, you get a little more buy-in with that person than, hey, here's a free ticket. You're essentially saying we don't value, and this is my take. I'm not saying you don't value what you do, but I think that can come off in people's brains as, they're giving this to me for free. I don't know that it's worth as much as if I have
the value piece. Value piece. Yeah. Reggie, please add to that if you don't mind.
Yeah. Yes. I think that if you don't charge, your number one problem is the number of cancellations that you'll get. People just won't take seriously this invitation. They might really like you. They might really want to come to your event, but anything can disrupt it. The day before somebody says something, you're like, oh, okay. Charging a fee, even a small fee, increases the likelihood that they're going to actually come to your event. And as Matt was saying, kind of a general rule of thumb is you want to try to cover the cost of the engagement with the fee. So if you do the math on what does it cost us to have this venue, to have the caterers do this food, to have the AV team, to hire the auctioneer, to do all the stuff that we're going to do, what's the total cost of that divided by the number of people that are coming? That can start to get you toward where maybe your ticket price needs to be. But if you're not comfortable charging your guests that much, then you might need a sponsor who's then going to cover the gap between what those tickets are costing. And so the 2 points are really, you want to charge a fee because you want people to pay because they're more likely to come. And then 2, you want to try to cover as much of your cost as you can with that fee.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, it's a
that
great,
sorry.
Please. No, Matt, you take the floor. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the other aspect is going back to the community-centered model of fundraising. There's ways to work around this. If you're concerned that some of the people who are members of your community, whether they're clients of your organization or people who should be at the table but can't afford it, you can do sliding scale tickets, and you'll be very surprised at what people will pay. If I'm charging $250 for my event, I say, folks, our tickets are $250. If you are capable of sponsoring or supporting somebody who might not be able to afford a ticket, we're going to offer you a ticket at $400 that will underwrite the hard costs of another ticket. And if you're a person from the community who can't afford a full ticket, we're going to offer you either a free ticket or a reduced rate ticket. And then you can also find sponsors for that. HGA has generously offered to sponsor anybody who can't afford a ticket, kind of like a scholarship model. So there are ways to get around that. And there's a million sponsorship opportunities besides just the classic, your name on our website, your name on our program, your free table of seats, and things like that. So, you can get your bar sponsored. You can get your menu sponsored for your food. You can have the back of your paddle sponsored. So when somebody raises that paddle, they see the name of HGA. Again, we're going to use HGA as our sponsor. HGA is on the back of every paddle raised. Everybody keeps saying that. So, hey, can that be the way to offset the cost of some of those tickets? Yeah. But you do want to charge.
There you go. Encapsulating the both points. Reggie mentioned something like cancellations. People don't have skin in the game. If they haven't paid for the ticket, they have no skin in the game, unfortunately, right? Which is actually another great book that just came across my bow. It's really, really good. So anyway, hey, I got a couple. We got a couple points here. Imani, thank you so much. And Imani, by the way, I saw your question about experiences, and I will circle back when we wrap up with the webinar about that. Imani brings up a great point. When I lived in Russia, it was well known that people never bought the cheapest item in the store because it was viewed as low quality. Very good point. Also, and we can take another minute to talk about this if y'all like to add some more punctuation to the cost of the tickets. We're always, carefully nudging folks and encouraging folks. Listen, the cost of everything is going up, whether we like it or not. It just is what it is, right? $30, I can't really go out to have lunch with my wife for under $30, for instance. So I do think there should be, because donors are consumers at the end of the day, especially folks that have capacity as well. They write big checks, spend money on a lot of things, for instance, making sure that these ticket prices and different sponsorship and underwriting opportunities, like you both mentioned, mimic what people are seeing in their day-to-day life. And then also not being afraid to push the envelope and ask for more. You have to add, right? And if you have any trepidation about the word ask, then make it an invitation. Right. So right. I think it'd be good. Right. Yeah.
Forgive. Do not ask them to donate. Yeah.
Reggie, you got anything to add to that, sir?
I do. And I don't have the data in front of me, but I would encourage somebody, look it up on ChatGPT to find out what's the difference between $125 and $150. And I don't mean what's the actual difference. I mean, psychologically, what's the difference? Or what's the difference between 150 and 200? Yeah. And I think that's something that charities can lean into if you do a little bit of research about that, to say, hey, if our price is at $75 and we decide to go to 100, we might not lose anybody because they already see the prices as very similar. And if 100 seems like 125, we could probably go to 125. We might be able to go from 75 to 125, which is a big deal to us, but might not be that big a deal to your donors in terms of the psychology of how much this thing already costs. And again, I don't have this data in front of me, but I know that it exists out there. And I would encourage you to try to find that type of information about pricing.
I absolutely concur with that. And then, my contention, Matt, sorry to cut you off. My contention is that if someone will pay $100, they'll pay $125. Mm-hmm. They just will. Yeah. Right? It's just human nature. Matt, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I oftentimes send, and anybody can make this, but I basically create a spreadsheet for all of my clients. That is, in this case, it would be, if they have 5 years, 10 years of data, great. I don't expect them to put 10 years of data into one spreadsheet unless they've already been that organized. But if I can get 22, 23, 24, 24, 25, 26, and we can look at what their prices are, oftentimes you hear, man, we didn't make as much money as we thought. And I'm like, well, let's look at what your costs were this year. And sure enough, their catering has gone up by 30%. Their AV has gone up by 20%. So many things. I mean, to the point of you were talking about going out to lunch with your wife. I went out with a friend the other day who helped me do some stuff for my nonprofit. We bought lunch at Subway. We each got a normal sandwich, a bag of chips, and a beverage, and it was $40.
Yeah.
I mean, not to date myself and everyone else in the room. I remember when I could get a McDonald's, 2 cheeseburgers, a fry, and a Coke for $1.99. I mean, you don't even get a soda for. So we have to remember that prices are going up and rapidly. So you don't have to necessarily apologize. You might also find that as you get to a price of, especially if you're able to justify, look, we figured out the cost of our event. This is realistically what it costs. Your tax write-off, if you buy a $250 ticket to an event that costs $248, you get a $2 tax write-off, right? And that would be a different thing if you said it's a $1,000 ticket and the hard cost of the event is $248. But that's a very different ticket you're selling somebody. So going back to figuring out what your event cost is, everything, putting it together. Is it the ticket cost that's paying for it, or tickets and sponsors? How does that work?
Absolutely. Yeah. Once again, I just think that we can get into a very, very dangerous downward slope with our own psychology if we're thinking with our own checkbooks, when it comes to asking for more. So not to put a bow on that, we can absolutely talk about that for an hour. It's very, very interesting. So Jennifer, thanks so much for getting the conversation going. Jennifer, you'll have opportunities to reach out to both of these gentlemen post-webinar as well. Jana, excellent points by both of you. Good to see you, Jana. It adds value to attend, intention, connections to the cause. Also, yes, the options to sponsor, sliding scales, awesome, and can ensure that budget sponsors cover the gap. Winning. Love that. Great point.
Offer your sponsors, instead of just this is what you get, have, much like you've seen these things, here's 9 things available. If you're the biggest sponsor, you have the opportunity to get every one of these. If you're our smallest sponsor, lowest level, you get to pick 2 of these, but you don't have to tell them what they can take, because you might find a sponsor just wants their name out there and that's it. They don't want the 8 tickets. They don't have they're just like not interested in, hey, I'd rather give you those tickets. So I'm now sponsoring 8 people who don't have capacity to attend your event, that you might say staff, volunteers, clients, please come on behalf of HGA Fundraising.
A lot of these sponsors and underwriters, for instance, in the same, using the same moniker to describe both of them, don't want the burden of filling up a table because they go to 12 different events, especially right now. I mean, it's March, right? So giving them the opportunity to sponsor or underwrite a portion of the program, the event, the AV, like you mentioned, I love that. Reggie, talk about sponsorships and underwriting. Any kind of feedback for folks on that with your experience?
Yeah, I think that if you have sponsors who don't want to send people to the event, ideally you don't want them to buy a table, because you don't want them to foist that on you as the nonprofit to try to fill it. And we want, if they do buy a table, we want them to fill it with people who are capable of participating and making a gift in the paddle raiser. And so, I like the idea of, if they don't want a table, let them sponsor something else. But it's one of trying to fill the room with qualified givers is one of the big challenges that nonprofits have all the time. And one of their biggest pain points is the corporation that buys a table and doesn't fill it, or buys a table and 3 days before the event says, hey, I have 8 empty seats. Can you fill this for me? And chances are the charity can fill it, but they're filling it with people who can't give. And that creates problems in the room once you start trying to raise money.
Love it. Love it. We frequently, Sarah says, have donors. Hi, Sarah. We frequently have donors that wind up with extra seats or want to sponsor tables for our clients that want to attend but can't afford to. It's a great way to still recognize their contribution. Love that feedback. Kimberly talking about a good question. Here we go. When the schedule says move to auction, but the room is still buzzing with networking, do you force the timeline or do you let the room breathe? How do you make that call in the moment? Reggie, you want to start with that, if you don't mind, with Kim's question?
Yeah, I think your timeline is so important to your fundraising that you cannot let the room dictate your timeline. You have to, I believe in start on time, stay on time. Why do things go wrong? Because you don't start on time. You say, oh, look how much fun they're having in the cocktail hour. Let's give them another 10 minutes over there. And it's like, oh boy, you know what? It's a simple thing that happens. if you're going to start an event at 7 o'clock, let's say that you're going to be on stage with a person speaking, and you've got your cocktail hour that's outside the ballroom, and then obviously you got to get them inside the ballroom. I think a lot of charities misunderstand how much time it takes to get those people from out there into the ballroom, into their seats, and ready for you to start at 7 o'clock. They say, oh, we're going to open the doors at 6:45. And then everybody will come in and we'll start our program at 7. Now I was saying, if you open the doors at 6:45, you might be starting your program at 7:10. You might want to open the doors at 6:30, and you might want to make sure that you have the ability to project sound into the cocktail hour to make an announcement. Say, hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here for ABC Foundation. The ballroom doors are open. Please make your way inside and find your seats. We're going to begin our program shortly. Thank you so much for being here for this organization. If you don't have sound out there, you might want people going around with little xylophone bells to make noise to indicate that people need to move in, because the process of moving, say, 500 people out of the cocktail hour into the ballroom, they come into the ballroom and they all stand around. They're standing and talking, and they keep talking. And then you got to somehow get them go to your tables. And then at their tables, they're standing and talking. And then you got to get them, please sit down. And so you got to do all of that before you really have a chance of starting at 7 o'clock. And so I think that giving yourself 30 minutes to try to move everybody in is the beginning point of a successfully maintaining your timeline throughout the event.
Do you think this is becoming, and Matt, I want to hear your points of it. Lovely, Reggie. Do you think this is becoming a situation where we need to incentivize guests?
I think you certainly can. I think tying into what Reggie's saying, can we utilize audio or visual cues? So lighting changes can make a big difference. People are so afraid of spending money on, and this I've heard this many times, the two most important things for your event, and I thankfully am one of those two most important, is a professional fundraising auctioneer and a flawless sound system. But I will add to that lighting. I've done events in school gyms where it's either all on overhead halogen or all off to the point where you're eating by candlelight. And there needs to be some level in the middle there. If your sound, I'm seeing a question about control of the volume, and I'm not reading the whole question as I'm talking, but
we'll get to it, brother. Yeah.
If you cannot dominate your crowd, what happens is this: you have a wall of speakers in the front of your room, and Reggie and I get up with our beautiful dulcet pipes and we're talking away, and then somebody gets up and they start talking and they start going on far too long. And this is your typical of your invited political, your alderman, your mayor, your local council member, and they go off on a tangent and now they're talking for 10 minutes. Well, what happens? The back third of the room who can't really hear, they disengage. So they start talking. As they start talking, they're talking loud enough that now the people in the middle of the room can't hear. So by the time we're done, Reggie and I are talking to the front quarter of your room, and you've just lost 2/3 of your audience. So having that sound system, having that, having the lighting changes that, it signify to people, hey, we're going to stop talking. I've even seen organizations, and I encourage this with places where they know they have a chatty crowd. If it's a school, for example, get the kids to make a cute video that goes, shh.
Oh, I love that.
We're trying to raise money here. Stop talking. Or I will literally say, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to tap the person on your left, tap the person on your right, say, please stop talking. And we'll wait. And I will quietly talk. I'll bring my voice down so it's harder to hear me. But, those sorts of ways. So going back to bringing people into the room, it's, can you make sound changes? Can you make lighting changes? And if you can't control either of those, let's say it's an area with no sound, you have volunteers who just gently say, ladies and gentlemen, we're so glad you're having a wonderful time. We want to make our way into here so we can get our program started. Please take your seats. You'll see the table map over here. You'll find it on your program. Thank you. We are so excited to begin our program. Thank you for being here.
I love it. I love it. I noticed there's a trend, obviously, or a pattern about talking about psychology and feeling and lighting and sound and how that dictates price and all these things. I think that's something that we can even dive deeper into, of course, with this conversation over time as well. I want to get to some of these questions, y'all. Hey, Claire, good to see you. 2 Frankels on one webinar. Oh, my goodness. And Claire will be here next week. It's so awesome. Good to see you, Claire. Appreciate you. Timing, love punctuality. Punctuality is my best friend, she says. So absolutely. Jennifer says, I think that is such a good idea to let them choose from a list. Going back to the point about sponsorships and underwriting, every year I have a table to fill with random people last minute due to the sponsor not attending. Jennifer, it's a lovely conversation and something that's so easy to, if you're using, for instance, software, of course, with your ticketing and all that good stuff. Oh, and you're on the phone and you're talking to a supporter, like, oh, you can't make it? No big deal. I'm going to send you over a list. And as both gentlemen mentioned, a list of different sponsorship and underwriting opportunities. You pick the one that you want. You know what I mean? And send them over a list of, once again, the AV. We have the famous client that sells the refreshing station, sponsors the bathroom with the local plumbing company, and the plumbing company donated a yacht trip they use in their live auction. It's just such a cool thing. So absolutely, still to this day in 2026, an underutilized approach. Matt mentioned sponsoring the paddle, all those things. That's all real estate that can be sponsored and underwritten. Love it. Sorry, guys.
Trevor,
catch up.
Have you heard?
Please.
There's a trend going around now, a toll-operated bathroom.
Oh, love it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, if it means making money, let's go.
You need to go?
Yeah. Sorry, there's a tax.
$1,000 for a clean.
There's a tax. Janice said, well stated, steering each step of the event transitions matter. Absolutely critical element to the event. Lovely feedback, Janice. Thank you.
To that point, having your run of show, right? This should be a script for your AV team. This should be a script for every speaker. You have it down to the minute, 7:07, 7:10. And yeah, you're going to have a minute or two of leeway. But, if you're going to have somebody get up and speaking, make sure you know what they're going to say. So 2 to 3 minutes, that is all you need from a speaker. 2 to 3 minutes, that is all you need from a video. Your ED gets up. They are not telling the history of your organization for 45 minutes. 2 to 3 minutes. This is why we're here. A 2 to 3 minute org video. We're going to welcome up Matt Roben, the Kilted Auctioneer. Matt gets up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play the game. We're going to get into our auction. Then we get into that paddle raise video. Again, a 2-minute inspirational video, followed by somebody getting on stage who might have been in that video. Telling one story of one person. The data is very clear that when you try and tell the story of your whole organization or everyone you serve, that you are giving people statistics. When you give a very clear, Jennifer was here, Jennifer went here, Jennifer is now this. We see Jennifer talk, and then Jennifer comes out and says, because of your organization, I am now where I'm at today, making very clear as well that Jennifer is looking at this through the rearview mirror. She's not going through this process right now, but she has been served and is past where she was at. For ethical storytelling reasons, you got to do that. And then have Jennifer say, please give generously.
Yeah. I love it. I want to bookmark that, actually, y'all, because this keeps coming up once again to the surface of all these conversations, is creating separate events to even highlight people even further, maybe a very small fundraising component, but not your traditional auction gala event like we're talking about right now. So I want to bookmark that. I want to come back to that. Jenny has a great question. Do you have any recommendations on how to control the volume? I'm sure this is a challenge for so many people, and if we've already addressed it, apologies. But Jenny, do you have any recommendations on how to control the volume of the room once the program starts? The past few years, we've had issues with our guests not paying attention to what's happening on stage because they are socializing with their table guests. It sounds like we're talking about the same things again, but Reggie, any feedback for Jenny on that?
So the first challenge is this a private school event?
Yeah.
If it's a private school event, these are the loudest events.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a good way to get them quiet. So here's the difference. If you have a bunch of people going to, say, Children's Hospital Gala, they all know that this is a charity event. For most of them, blessedly, their children are not being served by Children's Hospital and never will be. They're here to support this institution in the community. Mm-hmm. They come in, they're orderly, they're quiet, they listen, they're obedient, all of that kind of stuff. A private school event is a different animal altogether. All of the people who are there because they have a direct connection to this school. Their kids or their grandkids go to this school. They feel like this party is for them. Yeah. It's their night out. It is their social occasion. They're going to be drinking with their friends. They're going to be talking with their friends. We have found, we've done hundreds of private school events, And we have found that, yeah, there's just no practical way that you're going to get this audience quiet. And so you just have to do your best to try to keep your program short. I think you do have to try to precede the idea of your program and that you're going to ask them for their attention in your pre-event explanations and on the night of the event. As the MC might say something like, hey, everybody, welcome. We want you to have a great time. We're going to ask for your attention only for 45 minutes here when we start our program, and then we're going to be done, and it's just going to be a big party. But when we ask for that moment of your attention, we hope that we can get your attention. And then we just proceed with the program, and you realize you're talking to the people who are listening. But yeah, we've kind of come to the conclusion that trying to quiet these private school audiences is a losing affair.
Jenny said we are a community-based mental health organization for reference. Okay. And she's got challenges with the guests not paying attention. We had Janelle came on last week or 2 weeks ago and mentioned like a clock. What do y'all think about like visual cues like that, for instance, for getting their attention? We're talking about incentivizing people's, attention, frankly. Any thoughts to that, Matt?
Going back to that shorter program, right? If they know they're going to be stuck here for an hour-long program, they're not interested. But if you can explain to them, we are going to ask you to give us your attention for the next 7 minutes while this happens, and then we're going to get to our auction. The auction becomes a party. And look, as long as that microphone and speaker system is loud enough for me to talk over anyone in that room, the people who are engaged, and that's realistically 10 to 15% of your crowd, are the ones who are actually raising a paddle during your auction. So it's not like 100% of the people in that room are raising their paddle for that. They're going to be engaged. And ideally, we are doing our jobs well enough, Reggie and I, that they find this entertaining and will watch it, but they'll also talk to their friend. When it comes to the paddle raise, I will literally wait until you can hear a pin drop. And I will tell the crowd that if it is not dead silent, I'm not going to begin. And I will also tell the organization I'm working for, you need to make crystal clear to catering and to the bar that there is no catering service happening. There's no clearing of plates. There's no clearing of tables. There's no serving of drinks. We shut the bar down for that 15, 20 minutes or less of that time. But that is the one spot where it is non-negotiable. We have to be able to hear, because for Reggie and I to build the proper call to action, we need to have people focused. And if they're not focused, it doesn't matter. And if they think it doesn't matter, then they're right. It doesn't matter. And you've lost your crowd.
Makes total sense.
Trevor, can I add one thing in answer to Jenny's questions?
Yeah.
Jenny, you're a community-based mental health organization. So let me give you a couple of tips of how to quiet down an audience. Number one, start on time. Yeah. And get your program going. Number two, ask for their attention. Don't just try to talk over them. First, ask for their attention. Hey, can we get everybody's attention? We're going to start our program here tonight. If you can't, then try to do something that officially marks the start of your event. I will often say something like, all right, so we want to get everybody's attention. And I can see some of you are listening to me. Some of you are not, still socializing. And I wonder if those of you who are listening can help me get the attention of the people who aren't. Can we start off with a round of applause? And we get a round of applause, and that gets a little bit of attention. And then I always use the shush technique, although it is controversial.
Yes.
And it is limited. Like, you can use it once, you can use it twice, maybe 3 times, depending on the audience, but never a fourth and almost never a third. But so I would say, so after the round of applause, now everyone who is listening to me, join me for 10 seconds in saying, shh. And it's not the fact that I'm saying shh through the microphone, it's that the person standing next to them is shushing. And so you get a lot of people in the room shushing, then you get the room quiet, and then you can say, hey, listen, our program's only going to be 40 minutes. We want to have your attention. We have some important information to share. We've got some great live auction items. We're going to do our paddle raiser, but thank you for attention. We're going to get going right now. And so I think that you have to make an effort to try to get their attention at the beginning so you can hold it. It's a mistake to just try to talk over them and just keep your program going while you're talking over them. They just get louder and they just realize there's noise over here that I have to talk louder to be heard.
Love it. Matt, you want to punctuate that?
I mean,
in closing, tie a bow.
Yeah. No, he really did. That's
perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, we got less than 15 minutes. I'm not trying to rush you. Sorry, guys. Hey, but Kim, I love the questions. Kim, how many live auction items are too many? At what point does an extra item start costing the nonprofit money by dragging out the night? Speaking of time, that's so on topic. Thanks, Kim. I have found our sweet spot is 6. Gentlemen, the sweet spot, knowing that every event has its own atmosphere and uniqueness and all that good stuff. But what do you all see? Matt, you go first. What's the sweet spot in your neck of the woods with the like with the Humane Society event that you're doing, for instance? What's the sweet spot with live auction items?
Yeah, West Coast is shorter than most, and it's 3 to 5 items.
Okay.
There's places where you'll see 15 to 20, but you have to remember every auction item is going to take us about 3 minutes to sell. So I'm going to do a 3-minute introduction to explain how my auction works, make a few jokes, get people on board, and then 3 minutes per item. If you have 10 items, that means we're looking at 33, maybe 35 minutes. If you have 5 items, that means 15 to 18 minutes. So if you're trying to keep your program to 45 minutes and it's going to take me 33 minutes, 35 minutes to just do the live auction, and we still have to do the paddle raise, that's another, let's say 10 minutes, depending on the size of your crowd. We're now at 45 and we haven't had anybody else speak. So now we have to, add in the time of all those other people. Now your program is 60, 70, 80 minutes long. I ideally like to keep that program at 60 minutes, which keeps the auction items to a minimum. So I will say 3 to 5 items. We want things that are mission focused, experiences that people cannot buy. So if this is, everyone has access to concert tickets unless it's the VIP box, right? Everyone has access to sporting events unless it's, you can go watch a Denver Broncos game with Reggie Rivers inside of the VIP suite and he's going to give you a neck massage. He is. He told me he was going to do that. No, but right. Those things that you cannot buy, those are the things that are going to make the biggest difference. So focus on those items. And then the order of your items is hugely important. And I don't want to take up all the time talking on this. So Reggie.
No, I got you though. Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. Reggie, talk about the sweet spot for live auction, please.
Yeah, live auction. Here's a way to think about your live auction. Your live auction is by design alienating to most of your audience. So let's say you have 500 people in the room and you have 5 live auction items. That means that 1% of your audience is going to win an item and 1% is going to be the second place bidder. So 2% of your audience is super engaged in this and 98% is politely waiting for it to be over. At first, they're engaged. They enjoy watching it. It's entertaining unto itself. Then by the second or third item, they're having a conversation quietly with a person at their table. Some of them are going to quietly get up and go to the bar to get a drink. Some of them are going to go to the restroom. But the longer it goes on, the more they kind of drift away, and not in an impolite way. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not that into it, and their attention is being frayed. And then as soon as you finish with that, you've got to gather their attention again for your mission moment video or testimonial, and then do your paddle raiser. And so that's why we think don't have too many live auction items. Typically, anywhere from 3 to 7 is almost never wrong. Your audience can tolerate that amount. That doesn't mean that 10 or 12 is wrong, but yeah, it's taxing to your audience's attention, and really everyone can participate in the paddle raiser. And so you really want to preserve what we call their patience equity so that they're there for your paddle raiser. And if you burn too much of it with a long live auction, you just lose a lot of money in the paddle raiser.
I love it. Great feedback, guys. Hey, Kim had a great follow-up question as well. When you're prepping for a live auction, what's some great golden info you need for every item? Knowing that prepared bidders are going to bid higher, of course, beyond the retail value in the donor's name, what specific details help you drive the price higher, and how do you prefer that info is presented? Bullet points. I've also seen people use short videos for each item. What's a great way to prepare bidders for the live auction? Matt, you want to start with that?
Yeah, advertising in advance. So as soon as you get that auction, hey, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe you're going to pick up a trip from HGA Fundraising. That's why we're all here. You got a beautiful trip to Tuscany. So you're going to find a sponsor who's going to pay for this. And you're going to say, hey, ABC Corporation just paid for or just supported us by offering this incredible opportunity to go to Tuscany, Italy, presented by HGA Auction, and you send that out to people. HGA, of course, is going to send you all the information you need to share, including videos. we are 90% visual as people. So the more visual you can have, and I will say to a point, the better. But so I like to have a 20, 30 second long video in the background. And when I have that 20-second long video, people can be watching that video. I'm a very visual person, so I'm going to watch that video, but I also need to hear what's going on. So that's where I'm going to come in and be speaking about it. So part of that is advertising in advance, doing that weeks, days in advance with a social media schedule. And then once we get to the night of, it's in the program with all of the key blackout dates, things like that, information. This is for 4 people only, or 2 adults, 2 children, whatever that is, have that very specific information. So they're not going, what? I thought this was for a family of 10 or anybody I wanted. They need to have that information. And then, auctioneer is going to kind of frame it in the way that they do. I go back to that Neuro giving book. I use an AI. I happen to use Gemini, but I will use Gemini and say, write me a 30-second live auction item description using the Neuro giving framework without neuroscience language for this item. And it gets you engaged in feelings. Imagine what it's going to be like when you feel the pounding of those feet and you're I am not a sports ball guy, Reggie. What do we call it? The field. You are next to you on the field at the Denver Broncos game, and you can hear the pads crashing. Your brain goes to a place that is not. You're going to get 4 tickets and a VIP parking pass that allows you to immediately go to this game on December 13th. That is not exciting to us, but engaging and evoking feelings and thoughts. Not thoughts, but the feelings really is what we're doing, and that goes back to that oxytocin. Dopamine release. So
love it. Best ways in your estimation, or what you advise, Reggie, with as far as advertising pre-event. I'm assuming you're on board with that. Video behind you during the live auction, stuff like that. Any feedback for folks about advertising these items?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that you have to promote these things in advance. Because you have a limited amount of time on stage for people to make a very consequential decision. Mm-hmm. And people don't make multi-thousand-dollar decisions on a whim. Most people don't. And so they have to have thought about it in advance. They have to have thought of who would we invite to take with us on this vacation? Can we even go during the windows that they're available? When are we planning our next vacation? When is our kids' spring break? All of these things have to kind of come together. They need to have a conversation as a couple. They have to arrive at the event with some thought in their head about how much money they would pay for this. And so then you just want to, as the auctioneer, you want to obviously paint a picture, as Matt is talking about, make it personal and emotional, not just a financial decision. But you want to also make sure you hit the important high points and the important restrictions, not all the restrictions, but important ones. If you have an experience that you have to be 18 or you have to be 21 to do, you should mention that, because that's a deal breaker. Somebody wins this item the next day, they say, oh, I didn't realize that. I can't use this trip, and they try to give it back. Or if there's restrictions, real restrictions on like no holidays, no spring break, no, whatever it is, well, you probably better mention that. Or if airfare is not included in something that typically you would expect airfare to be included in. So I don't think you have to go through all of the negative, or not negatives, but the restrictions. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go through all of the restrictions, but anything that's significant that they ought to know, the auctioneer should mention it.
Mm-hmm. We call them terms and conditions. Absolutely. I think it's just normal. I think it's commonplace, right? Back to donors or consumers. Of course, these folks have capacity, but making it almost in parallel to what they see in their daily lives, right? When they're making these kinds of choices. Jason, who you all got to meet before we popped on in the green room, my partner, said folks are leveraging their giving budget with their travel budget when they buy experiences like these, for instance, that we were discussing, or experiences like ours. And I punctuate that by saying, if you're advertising properly, pre-event, folks are figuratively packing their bags. Right, we want to give them the opportunity to do that, and like you said, scheduling, all that good stuff. When spring break, great points entirely.
We want to go away from transactional and make this experiential, right? So even though buying something very much is a transaction, it is the experience of going to Italy that they are ultimately, we are trying to engage them in that. So you have different types of donors. Some people who want to give because it's just, I want to give X amount of money. Others who I want to get something, and others I want the best deal. So the best deal people are not buying a live auction item unless it really is a steal. The people who just want to give for giving's sake aren't going to buy that live auction item unless it really is appealing to them and an experience. And the people who are going to be participating in your paddle raise or your fund the need, those are people who are there. We are giving because we want to support this mission. And I saw somebody made a comment, who was it, Jackie? When do you have your paddle raise? If you have 12 items, I would highly recommend doing your paddle raise in the middle of your live auction. If you have 4 or 5 items, you can easily have it afterwards, but it's not to say it's wrong by doing it beforehand. If you do it beforehand, you can then celebrate with the live auction items, because going back to what we were talking about, people have different pools of money. I have a pool of money for vacation, and I have a pool of money for what I want to donate, because you're not going to, if I buy a $5,000 vacation for $10,000, I get a $5,000 tax write-off. If I buy a $5,000 vacation for $5,000, I get no tax write-off. The organization gets $5,000, but it's, what are these people donating for? Some people literally are like, I have to give $25,000 in order to get that tax write-off. So it has to be a no strings attached $25,000 tax write-off.
Love it. Love it. Reggie, and we got 3 minutes, guys. And thanks so much, everybody, for great questions. Appreciate you. Jackie, I want to double click on that. I want to get your thoughts on it. Matt answered Jackie's question as well. But Reggie, your thoughts. Jackie says, we do our video, fund need, and then the live auction. It works great for us. But you mentioned the opposite order, or at least we have in many, many, many episodes. I'm interested in knowing which is the best option. Your thoughts there, Reggie?
The traditional way to do it is live auction, mission moment, then paddle raiser. But I would say a third of our clients do mission moment, paddle raiser, live auction. And I think it works great. I think that your conversation is happening about your mission moment video really isolates, here's the impact that it's having on one person or one family, make that emotional connection, then your paddle raiser, and then your live auction. And the only danger is it depends on what your live auction items are and how married you are to how they sell. If you have a very special donor who has donated their very special thing, and you don't want them to be embarrassed, you want to make sure it goes for the right amount of money. Plan some pre-bidders for that to make sure that doesn't happen. But sometimes charities worry, we're going to suck all the money out of the room, and it's really important for this item to sell really well. And so that's why they don't want to move it behind. But for the most part, there's no problem with putting the live auction after the paddle raiser.
Or before.
Love it.
And I want to address Kimberly's question about paddle raise success. This is not a quick thought.
Quickly.
The reason you hire a professional fundraising auctioneer, we are going to coach you on how to get those bids. And we're not going to be making the phone calls for you, but I forget, I think it's Chris Hensley, one of our auctioneers here, likes to say, it's not the 18 minutes on stage, it's the 18 weeks in advance that you're working with me. And it really comes down to you. What's that?
That is a criticism.
It is those 18 weeks. And can you identify your donors with capacity and make those phone calls? Hey, we would like to invite you this year to be our anchor donor at $25,000 in our paddle raise so that we can kick things off and inspire generosity with the rest of the room. And then you move to your $10,000 level, your $5,000 level. But in an ideal world, you get maybe 40% pre-committed at those higher levels, and then you will be blown away at how the money flows in. And it's not cheating. We are putting on a show, and we are getting people to say, yes, I will support you. And going back to sponsors, if you have a sponsor who just doesn't care about the sponsorships, hey, would you be willing to be a donor in our paddle raise then? You just want to give $10,000. Can we say, thank you so much, HGA Fundraising donated $10,000. We're raising a paddle for them, and we want that paddle raised in the room. We want people going, what just happened? It's that psychology is so important.
And that excitement, it's because it's palpable, man. It was palpable with both of you, and the energy and excitement and the feedback and the questions. This was a great episode. Yeah. Hey, and then once again, in typical Reggie fashion, giving me a compliment. When I first met Reggie, he told me I look like an athlete. My head has never been that big in my life. And he told me my hair is not. This has been a great day, everybody. Thank you so much. Hey, Sandy just popped up the winner today. Jenny Smith of the Village Family Service Center, helping people thrive through therapy, education, and support. Jenny, you and the Village Family Service Center have just won $1,000 in HGA bucks that you can use at your next event, plus a coaching session with Jason as well. Guys, hey, I'm sorry I got to cut us off. It's been an hour. That went by super fast. Hey, both of you, this is your invite to come back. Thank you both so much for coming. Everybody, we are going to send you the recording, and you are going to have ways that you can reach out, more than one way to reach out to Reggie and Matt. Continue this conversation with each other and with them, pretty please, if you don't mind, and thank them for their time. Matt, can't thank you enough. Reggie, can't thank you enough. You guys are awesome. That was a great episode. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Hey, we'll be back same time, same channel next week with two friends. Claire and Shannon will be with us next week as well. Claire was in attendance today. Thank you all so much. I see the feedback in the chat. Can't thank you all enough. Appreciate you so much, and we'll see you all next Thursday.